What is up, guys? It's your boy, Daddy Cacus, and today, oh my goodness, we have some massive Destiny 2 news. Bungie just revealed the buffs and nerfs coming to exotic armor pieces next season with Season 21, Season of the Deep, and they say 24 different exotic armor pieces were affected, which is absolutely huge. That's like the majority of exotic armor out there. So in this video, sit down, relax, grab some popcorn, because we're going over all of those changes. And so, let's get started. Now, first off, here are the two primary goals that Bungie had when making these changes. Number one, identify underused armor pieces and revamp them to increase their appeal. Number two, tone down outlier armor pieces that are probably too powerful. They also say, on top of that, we wanted to curb a few instances of damage stacking that circumvented the expectations introduced in Lightfall, partially to bring damage into an expected range, but also to alleviate the pressure to use certain combinations of exotics and mods to reach optimal damage output. In these cases, we hope that this reduces the desire to run surge mods on your leg armor, allowing your exotic to cover that ground and freeing you up to use other mods in those sockets. They also say that please note, unless otherwise specified, the following changes leave the rest of the exotics benefits intact. Alright guys, now let's get it started here with the very first exotic. And that's going to be the sealed AHAMKARA grasps. So Bungie says this exotic will now reload the magazine of all of your weapons when you defeat a target with your powered melee. And for 5 seconds after dealing damage, you gain increased movement speed and jump height. Next up, it's the ATHRYS'S Embrace, with Bungie saying, gain additional strength while the exotic's weighted knife damage bonus is active, so you're going to get more melees overall. After that, we have the OATHKEEPER. When fully drawn, bows gain a bonus to damage against combatants that increases as you hold the draw, but deactivates after a few seconds. Okay, that's a little interesting. Especially when you're potentially combining this damage increase with bows that already hit very hard. Stuff like the Wish Ender, which is already like pretty good, remember intrinsically got anti-barrier, and even the Leviathan's Breath, which recently got buffed, is a heavy weapon, hits like a truck. If the Leviathan's Breath is getting a significant damage boost from OATHKEEPER, new DPS strat? Like, we're gonna have to wait and see, guys. Next up, we have the RAIJU'S Harness. So, Bungie says, when deactivating your arc super, you create a blinding explosion that temporarily increases your arc weapon damage. However, blocking with Whirlwind Guard no longer consumes energy more slowly. Yeah, I don't think that buff makes a big difference, and in fact, this almost seems more nerfed if anything, so yeah, kind of a miss there in my opinion. Next up, we have the Radiant Dance Machine's exotic legs. So, kills while your free dodge is active extend the duration of free dodging. No longer deactivates when you get too far away from enemies. Deactivates after using Suspending Slam. So, as long as you're getting kills, you can potentially be dodging for quite a while. But next up, it's the infamous Stompies. So, Bungie says, removed the airborne effectiveness penalties, but you only gain increased speed, slide distance, and improved jumping while your dodge energy is full. So, definitely a pretty big buff because, you know, these would improve your jump and all that stuff, but then give you a massive airborne effectiveness penalty when you did jump. People hated that. But now you're only going to get those benefits if you have your fully charged class ability. I really don't know what to make of that. Again, big buff, but also a big nerf to these things. They're one of the most used exotics in the game still, for PvP especially. So I bet people on Twitter are not happy about that overall change. But guys, the last one for the Hunter is the Mask of BAKRIS. So Bungie says, changed to use a tier 4 non-stacking weapon damage bonus, which behaves the same as the non-stacking damage bonuses provided by surge mods. So the damage bonus increased in PvE from 10% to 25%, and it now grants a 6% bonus to weapon damage in PvP. No longer stacks with Surge leg armor mods, but provides a larger bonus that can be achieved with 3 such armor mods equipped. So, definitely a significant increase, right? The fact that you can't stack it means that it's not necessarily doing too much better or better at all than it is right now, because it gives like a 10% damage bonus right now, but it stacks with all the leg armor mods, so potentially you could achieve even higher damage. The advantage, as Bungie lays out, is that you can now put different mods on your legs and then get a pretty significant damage bonus to arc weapons. So, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to change too much about this. You kind of need to keep the stacking intact if you want this to be viable, as well as the fact that the damage bonus doesn't last for a very long time. We'll have to wait and see. But guys, moving on from there, we have the Titan, and the first exotic on the list is the Point Contact Cannon Brace exotic gauntlets. So, Bungie says, lightning strikes now jolt targets, increased PvE damage per lightning bolt from 50 to 200, and being amplified now increases the damage of the lightning strikes by 50% instead of extending their range. So that's actually huge. Like, Jolt, just in and of itself, is a very powerful ability, but you're also 4xing the PvE damage per bolt and increasing it even more by 50%. This could actually form a pretty darn good melee build next season. Now, will it be endgame viable? Probably not. Pretty much no melee builds are, but still, that is some pretty significant increases. But after that, guys, we have the no backup plans. So, this is a complete rework, replacing the old functionality entirely. So, this now provides a moderate benefit to the airborne effectiveness and reload speed of shotguns. While you have a Void Overshield, shotguns deal additional damage, and shotgun final blows refresh your overshield. While using a Void subclass, rapid shotgun final blows or defeating a powerful enemy with a shotgun grants you a Void Overshield and kicks off your health regeneration. Oh my goodness, that could actually be really good. Like, paired with a really powerful shotgun, shotguns have not necessarily been functioning that well in PvE. Like, why use that when you could use like a rapid fire fusion that has a little bit more range, does significant damage, all that stuff. But hey, if I'm getting a constantly refreshing overshield for getting kills with a shotgun, that sounds pretty darn good. But moving on, we have the second chance. So, shield throw melees now weakens enemies. Stunning a barrier champion with your shield throw grants a single full melee charge. I don't necessarily think that's enough to make these viable, especially, I mean, after reading no backup plans, sounds crazy. Now we go to this where it just weakens guys, but still, you know, that is some pretty noticeable improvements. However, next up we have the Stronghold. So, replaced the healing from blocking shots precisely with significant damage reduction, 50% in PvE and 10% in PvP while blocking with a sword period. When you stop blocking, gain restoration times 2 with a duration that increases based on the number of shots you blocked. That actually really doesn't sound that bad. 50% damage resistance, and then when you stop blocking, restoration times 2. To put that into perspective, that was the Loreley helmet buff, restoration times 2, before it got nerfed, and that is a pretty substantial amount of healing. In any event, next up we have the long-neglected Eternal Warrior exotic helmet. So, rapid takedowns with an arc weapon grant an escalating bonus to arc weapon damage, using the same non-stacking damage bonuses used by Surge mods. This can go all the way up to the tier 4 damage bonus, granting a damage bonus of 25% in PvE and 6% in PvP, providing a larger bonus that can be achieved with 3 Surge mods equipped. While at the tier 4 damage bonus, arc kills refresh the bonus's duration. After your Fist of Havoc super ends, you automatically gain the tier 4 damage bonus. So basically, you use the Eternal Warrior, it's essentially a little bit better than having 3 arc surges equipped. And again, that is definitely something. I mean, honestly, for PvP, if you have a weapon that can actually easily become one shot less to kill with a small damage increase, something might arise from that. But the problem with the whole, oh, you get to use other leg armor mods is that it's not like there's a ton of super amazing leg armor mods that I really want to use over surge mods, because the diversity of armor mods has dropped so dramatically after the armor rework within Lightfall. I think Bungie's really going to have to go back to the drawing board and add some new interesting armor mods to the game that actually does spice up what we want to use. However, moving on, we have the KHEPRI'S Horn, and this one's pretty simple. The solar damage wave now scorches targets. Doesn't sound too crazy, but that is a big buff. Scorch is very effective, it leads to ignitions, it can be improved by fragments. Again, that's actually pretty decent. Moving on, we have the Path of Burning Steps. So, changed to use the non-stacking weapon damage bonuses used by Surge mods. This can go all the way up to the tier 4 damage bonus, gaining 25% more in PvE, 6% in PvP, providing a larger bonus that can be achieved with the 3 Surge mods equipped while at tier 4 damage bonus. Solar kills refresh the bonus's duration, becoming encased immediately grants you the tier 4 damage bonus. Okay, so basically the same as the Eternal Warrior, but for Solar. Again, Bungie, the problem is that no one was really using these things anyways. Like, there were some niche builds when it did stack, so you're taking away the stacking. I just can't foresee anyone really running these. You're taking up an entire exotic slot for what can really just be achieved by putting on a few leg armor mods. I think this change will backfire, and I expect them to revert this change later on, so we're just kind of wasting time right now. However, moving on, we have the infamous DUNEMARCHERS. So they reduced the range of the chain damage from 20 meters to 12 meters, and the PvP damage from 85 down to 50. Yeah, these were certainly pretty powerful in PvP, so I don't know, is that nerf deserved? Let me know in the comments. However, guys, it's time to move on from there to the Warlock, and the first exotic up on the docket is the Vesper of Radius. So, your rifts now emit an arc shockwave every 5 seconds that deals damage, 200 in PvE and 70 in PvP. Enemies defeated by these shockwaves explode for an additional 100 damage, and if you have an arc subclass equipped, also blind nearby enemies. Very interesting, like it's almost turning your rifts into like a sunspot where it just has that, damage. In this case, it pulses damage versus a continuous burn, but still kind of interesting. But after that, guys, we have the chromatic fire. So, increased the radius and damage of the explosion created by precision takedowns. The explosion also applies a status effect to targets damaged by it, depending on which subclass you have equipped. If your arc, you blind enemies, for solar you scorch, for stasis you slow, and for strand you sever, and for void you weaken. That seems kind of good. You can potentially create a blinding explosion with every single precision kinetic kill with this thing on. Constantly blinding enemies is very, very effective. Again, for Scorch, you're basically adding an incandescent to all of your kinetic weapons in addition to a damaging explosion. So, is this enough to make this viable? I don't know, but that is actually kind of interesting. Next up, however, we have the Dawn Chorus Exotic Helmet. So, Daybreak projectiles damage bonus has been increased and no longer is reliant on the enemy being scorched. So a pretty simplistic buff, but the Dawn Course is actually not a terrible exotic right now, so that kind of makes sense. Moving on, we have the Sanguine Alchemy. So, standing in a rift grants a non-stacking bonus to weapon damage matching your subclass damage type. This damage bonus is the equivalent of 2 Surge leg mods, so 17% in PvE and 4.5% in PvP. Remember, all of the things it does already, right, is going to still apply. So basically this is like, okay, now you get a little bit of an empowering rift effect when standing in even a healing rift, and that's kind of interesting. Again, the fact that it doesn't stack with your leg mods, I'm really not a fan of this change, but again, we'll have to see how it plays out. Moving on from there, guys, we have the Claws of the AHAMKARA. So, powered melee kills create an orb of power. When heavy-handed mods are equipped, increases the potency of the orb spawned. No more than 1 orb can be spawned per enemy takedown. So basically, you can use these and get away with not using heavy-handed in a melee build. Pretty minor change in my opinion. But next up, guys, we have the Mantle of Battle Harmony. So, weapon bonus damage changed to tier 4 when super is fully charged, increasing the damage bonus in PvE from 20% to 25% and reducing the damage bonus from 15% to 6% in PvP. No longer stacks with Surge leg armor mods, but provides a larger bonus than can be achieved with 3 such mods equipped, same as what we've read before. Damage bonus only applies to weapons that match your subclass damage type, and now stacks with Empowering Rift and other similar damage bonuses. Extends the base duration of this bonus from 6 seconds to 10 seconds in PvE, and 3 seconds to 5 seconds in PvP. Again, it's one of those things where, like, no one is really using this thing when it did stack and was capable of, like, even more damage. And so, again, this change is going to backfire, and these exotics I don't think are going to see a ton of play. With the one exception I can see is that you're using the Mantle of Battle Harmony, right? And let's say you're solar, then you're using a solar primary, but then you're doing DPS with, let's say, an arc heavy, and then your leg armor is all arc surges. So you kind of have like the 3 surges worth of damage for your heavy and your energy weapon thanks to the mantle. So I can kind of see a use case for that, like basically getting 2 different elements of weapons to get pretty significant damage bonuses. But again, I don't know, that's kind of really having to mold an entire build around getting this thing to provide an average amount of damage. But next up, guys, we have the OPHIDIAN aspect. So they removed the extended melee range. This is the most used Warlock exotic for PvP by far because it provides so many benefits. So maybe a nerf was warranted, maybe not. It's not like these things were super oppressive. They just provided good neutral game benefits, which is what a lot of PvP players, look for. So again, was this nerf warranted? Let me know in the comments. But after that, guys, we have the PROMETHIUM SPUR. So, grants Rift energy for any solar weapon takedown, with more energy granted for solar weapon takedowns while standing in a Rift. Also, you now have to be standing in a Rift when you get a final blow for the exotic to consume your class ability energy and create a Rift at the target's location. Anyways, moving on from there to the STARFIRE protocol. Let's be honest, you might be unhappy, but we all saw this coming. They reduced the amount of energy gained per instance of damage from 20% all the way down to 2.5%. Empowered weapon kills now grant 20% grenade energy. So, this thing is basically nerfed to the ground. Like, you're not going to be getting your grenades back fast enough to be spamming them over and over again. Like, maybe if you really stack damage, you can get a decent amount, but certainly not enough to be using an entire rocket launcher with Demolitionist that's built on spamming them as quickly as possible. So it was fun while it lasted, certainly. Do you think this change was warranted, especially this severe of a change? They could have gone from 20% down to 10%, even 5%, and like still had it be a viable endgame DPS option while not being like the only viable endgame DPS option. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But that is it, guys. They do say we're going to be watching the data and your feedback carefully and may make additional tuning changes accordingly. We're already working on the next round of exotic armor tuning for future seasons. So overall, some pretty cool buffs. I wish we saw even more buffs. I'm not a fan of the non-stacking shenanigans. It feels like the fact that it would stack warrants using an exotic armor piece, right? So taking that stacking ability away really limits, why I would give up my exotic armor slot for a particular exotic. But again, some pretty impressive changes still, certainly reviving some underused exotics, but also some pretty huge nerfs to some pretty popular exotics. And I've already seen on Twitter, some people are not happy about some of these changes. Again, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of these changes, and also if there's any other exotic armor pieces that you think should have been affected by these changes. Guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.